student. In this session, we are going to learn Political Science, Class 8, Chapter 3, Why Do We Need Parliament? Before starting this chapter, what points we have to cover today? In the first segment, why should people decide? Then people and their representative, the role of parliament, to select the national government. So first, before starting this chapter, we recall the previous chapter, chapter 1 and 2. You learn about the constitution, and the second chapter, you learn about the understanding secularism. So in the first chapter, you learn about why do we need of the constitution, because any of the country, if there is no rule, so people thought that if whatever the things used to come in their mind, they can do that thing only, by which they thought that if I want to kill somebody, so they doesn't have a certain kind of fear that I can't do anything. Like I can't do anything. That doesn't mean they don't have any kind of fear. Means the thing is that if they want to kill somebody, they can kill it. They don't have any kind of fear that I want to kill that particular person. If there are the certain rules which we mentioned over there in our laws, that if the certain person committed some crime, if they like the murder, if he did the murder to the some person, so he has the fear, if I used to kill that particular person, the law going to punish me. In this chapter, the first chapter, we learn about why there is a need of the constitution. We learn about the Nepal, how the Nepal in the 1990s started their protests, the reforms, the revolution, that they want their constitution. So under the monarchical, they have the constitution, but later on the minorists thought that we need a democratic country, we want our own elected representative, and then we have to make the constitution. So in the 2007, finally they got the constitution, but they are using the interim constitution, by which they use the elected representative. So all the decision was taken by the elected representative or the leaders only, and later on they got their written constitution. Number of the things they adopted from the Indian constitution as well. Later on you come to know about how in our Indian constitution, which are the words they mentioned, by the federalism, about the separation of power, about the fundamental rights, about the different types of the government, all the such things which you have read in the first chapter. The second chapter is that the equality, like the chapter name is this secularism, that the none of the state has given the right that from particular individual to take away their religion, or you are promoting any kind of the religion. So in the secularism, the word is the equality, irrespective of a place of birth, state you belong from, religion, caste, creed, gender, gender in the sense male and the female, status we talk about rich and poor, we are all equal. We have given all the rights that any of the person of any of the religion, so they can practice their religion, they can set up their own institution where which they can teach their people that what kind of religion they have, what are the rules they have, what are custom they have, what are the beliefs they have. So all such thing we have so far read that. Now so the paper, what does this chapter said, that why do we need a parliament? Now think about it, if there are the elected representative, so for making of the rules and the law, we need a parliament, we need a certain kind of assembly where the majority, the ruling party can sit at one place and the opposition party can sit at the another place, and they can do the debate or they can do the discussion, by which what are the plan, what are the schemes, what are the initiative, and what are the laws they are making, by which they used to come under the effective way. Yes, these are the things that you have to do in the effective, you have to make the effective decision by which it can help the people and help, it can help the all the other person. If you can't make the effective decision, it will going to ruin, or it will going to disharmony to the people. So yes, there is a need of a parliament in, if we talked about any of the democratic country, yes, we need a parliament. Now this we are going to discuss in the brief. Now we are going in the detail. Why do we need a parliament? We in India pride ourselves of being a democracy. Yes, we feel pride. We feel proud that we are the democratic country. Here we will try to understand the relationship between the idea of the participation in decision making. Now in this digital era, in the contemporary era, you can say in the modern world, yes, we can participate in the decision making. How we can participate that? By casting our vote, or by the, if you can, by using the different platforms like Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp, Telegram, whatever the platform you are using. So by that you can give the suggestion to the government that these are the plans you are making, these are the law you are making, these are the initiative you have started. So this you can give the suggestion that by thinking of that the suggestion is according to the constitution or not. These are the suggestion according to the human rights or not. After that, they can include that suggestion, and you can criticize it if you do not like any of the plans, any of the initiative, and any of the laws. Then later on, the need for a democratic government to have the consent of their citizens, not need of a democratic government to have the consent of their citizen. Now they want the consent, they want their, you can say the grief, there's or not a grief, you can say their consent, or rather than their interest in the citizen, that what kind of government they want to see. Is this the element that together make us a democracy? Yes, this is the element that together we can make the democracy. This is the best expressed in the institution. Yes, we can explain in the institution of the parliament. In this particular chapter, what we try to see is that how the parliament enables the citizen of India to participation in the decision making. So how the parliament used to work, that the people of the India can participate in the decision making process and control the government, thus making it the most important symbol of the Indian democracy and the key features of the constitution. So first we start with the why should people decide. So India, as we know, that become an independent country on 15th August 1947. Preceding this was a long and difficult struggle. Yes, it is a long and difficult struggle in many sections of the society. Participate people from various backgrounds joined this struggle, and they were inspired by the idea of which freedom, equality, participation in decision making. Under the colonial rule, under the British rule, the people had to live with the fear that the British government and did not agree with many of the decisions what they took. Means the people, the ordinary people of the India, or you can say the many people of the India, they have the fear with the British people or the colonial people that if they do something independently or by their willingness, so the British government or the colonial government going to punish them. The freedom movement changed the situation. Yes, the freedom movement changed the situation. The nationalists began to openly criticize. Now they openly criticize the British government and make the demand as far back as 1885. The Indian National Congress demand that there will be the elected members in the legislature. Now what they want, the elected member in the legislature with the right to discuss the budget and ask the questions. The Government of India Act 1909 allowed for the some elected representative, while this early legislation under the British government. So the Government Act India 1909 allowed us for the some elected representative, while this early legislature under the British government were in the response to the growing demands of the nationalists. They did not allow for all the adults to vote, nor could people participate in decision. Now earlier with the 1909 or you can say 1909 Act, what was that? The Indian peoples could not participate in the decision making as well as the demand of the nationalists. They do not allow the adults to vote. Now none of the people they allowed to give the, or you can say they are not able to cast the vote. So people participate in the, now you can see the picture first, the later on we can go further. This the an elector reading the instruction for the using of the EVM. So nowadays in India for giving while casting the vote we have to touch this pad which we used to call it as the EVM. The upper photo shows the voter reading the instruction on how to use electronic voting machine, that we used to call it as the EVM in the short form. EVMs were used throughout the century. For the first time in the 2004 until today we are using the EVM machine. This use of EVM 2000 saved around 1 lakh 50,000 trees which would have been cut to produce about 8,000 tons of the paper printing the ballot paper. So like think about it, how we have saved this of the trees by using the EVM machines. So the experience of the colonial rules as well as the parties of different people in the struggle for the freedom left little doubt in the minds of the nationalists that all the person is independent. Yes, all the person are independent. India would be able to participate in making decision. Now the India would be able to participate in making the decision with the coming of the independence. Like after the independence, the people give the chance to make their decisions. We were going to create, we are the citizen of a free country. Yes, after the independence, we are the citizen of the free country. That did not mean that the government could do what it felt like. Now, what they think that this did not mean that the government could what it felt like. It means that government had to be sensitive to the people needs and the demand. So it means that the government had to be sensitive to the people's needs and demand. The dreams and the aspirations of the freedom struggle were made a concrete in the constitution of the independent India. So the dreams and the aspirations of the freedom struggle were made a concept in the constitution of the independent India and laid down the principle of the universal adult franchise. What do you mean by the universal adult franchise? Means at a certain age, if we talk about India, the particular individual is above the age of 18 years, he or she can eligible to cast their vote and elect their representative. So that all the adult citizens of the country have the right to vote, or you can say to cast the vote. Now, people and their representative. Second topic of this chapter, the people and their representative. The representative, in the other words, we can say the leaders. So, the take of the point of the democracy is the idea of the concept that is the desire, the approval, and the participation of the people. So, that is the desire, approval, and the participation of the people. This is the decision of the people that create a democratic government. Now, this is the decision of the people to create a democratic government and decide about its function. So, they have to decide about its functioning. The basic idea in this kind of the democracy is that individual or the citizen is the most important person, and that is the principle of the government. So, the basic idea in the kind of the democracy is that the individual, the citizen is the most important person, and that in the principle of the government as well as the other public institution need to have the trust to this citizen. How does the individual give the approval to the government? Now, how the ordinary people of the India give the permission to the government to regulate the rules and regulation and to do the work. One way of doing so, you have read in through the elections, people will elect their representative to the parliament. Now the people would elect their representative to the parliament. Then one group from among this elected representative form the governments. Then the one group from the among this elected representative from the government, the parliament, which is made up of all the representatives together, control and guides the government. In this sense, through this chosen representative, form the government and control. Now they can form the government and control it. You can see the photo how the people used to take the EVM to the different places. So this photo shows the election staff using an elephant. Now he is using the elephant to carry the polling material and the EVMs to polling station located in that difficult terrain. So the in the India the number of the you can say the EVM machine was taken by the most of the government officials. Maybe you can say the clerk, the government teachers. They used to take this EVM machine to the remote area, or you can say the rural area, maybe in the forest, maybe in the tribal areas, maybe in some remote areas. They have to cross the river, they don't find the road, or you can say they don't find any kind of connectivity with the road, so they used to they have to cross the river. Then after that they used to reach over that place and they take the vote of that particular person. In the recent times there when the election was happened in 2019, that is 2019, so for one person he used to live in a jungle, so that particular one man he go over there in jungle to take the vote of that particular person. So this is the talent, or you can say how the amazing our India is. We find that we used to give each and every individual that much of the respect for the one particular person. We send a particular government official to take the vote of that particular person. So that we have that one quotation: one vote, one people, one value. So the above idea representation has been important theme of from class to 6, 7. You have already learned in these political science. You are familiar with how the represent chosen. Yes, you have the idea how we are choosing our representative by casting our vote in the election. So we have already, because you have read in fifth in the EVS you have read, sixth in you have read in the political science, in the seventh you have read in the political science. You have read about the MLA, the election, the vote, the panchayat, the urban administration, the rural administration. All these things you have learned. In the EVS you have learned about what is the lower house, what is the upper house, how many members were there, and where is the upper house located. So if we talk about the lower house, that is the Lok Sabha, upper house, that is the Rajya Sabha, which is situated in the Delhi, and then later on we come to know about the Legislative Assembly in the class 7. So Legislative Assembly you will find in every state, especially in the if you talk about the individual state, so you will find the Legislative Assembly, especially in the capital. So these are the things which you have already learned in class 6, in class 7, as well as in class 5th. So the Parliament India, this is the Parliament of the India, you will, which we used to call it in Hindi as the Sansad. You will find in the Delhi nearby the India Gate. Yes, if you go the straight from the India Gate, you will find the Parliament. The Parliament India, that is Sansad, the supreme law-making institute where they make the laws. It has two houses, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha, the Council of State, which is a total strength of 245 members. It's chaired by the Vice President of India. If we right now talking about the 2020, the Rajya Sabha is chaired by the Dr. Venkaya Naidu. He is the Vice President of the India. Right now, if we talk about Lok Sabha, the House of the People, which is the total membership of 545, is President, the preside over the speaker. So right now the speaker of the Lok Sabha, that means the lower house, is the Om Prakash Birla. So you have to keep this in mind that whatever the speaker currently going on, if you talk about the Om Prakash, then 20 this is Om Prakash Birla. If you talk about the Rajya Sabha, that is the Council of the State, so the chairperson is Dr. Venkaya Naidu. Earlier he was the minister, now he is the Vice President of India. Now the role of Parliament. What is the role of the Parliament? After the independence 1947, Indian Parliament expression of the faith of the people of India have in principle of the democracy. These are the participation by the people in the decision making process. Now they are participate by the people in decision making process and the government by the consent. So by the people consent of the people, the government is making the laws that the people want to see the changes in the India. So the parliament is our system, has the immense power because it is the representative of the people. So the parliament in our system has the immense power because it is the representative of the people. Election to the parliament held in a similar way as are of those of the state legislature. So the election of the parliament are held in a similar manner as they are of the state legislature. The Lok Sabha is usually elected once every 5 years. Now every 5 years we used to give the election of the upper house, or you can say the Lok Sabha, which was last year. It happened in 2019. So the country is divided into the numerous of continents shows in the figure map 40, that is on the page number 41. You will see that how it is divided in the number of the constituencies. You have already read in the class 7 how this is divided in the number of the constituencies. Each of these constituencies elect the person of the parliament. Now they used to elect their person of the parliament. The candidate who contests the election usually belong to the different political party. You have the idea when we used to give the vote. So in that particular election, the elected, no, not the elected. You can say the face of that particular. You can say the post or the particular. Like if you talk about the CM, if you talk about the Sansad, so they have the particular place of the different parties, whether they talk about BJP, they talk about the Congress, whether you talk about the other parties or the independent parties. So which are the help of the table, the list to understand the further that the result of the 8th Lok Sabha, it is they given the data of 1984, and I think in maybe in your book that is the different one. So in my book it is the data of 1984 political parties and the MP selected. Bharatiya Janata Party, that is BJP, that is 2. Communist Party of India, that is CPI, that is 6. Communist Party of India, that is Marxist, the CPM, that is 22. Indian Congress Socialist, ICS, that is 4. Indian National Congress, INC, 404. Janata Party, INP, 10. Lokdal, LKD, 3. State parties, All India Anna, that is DMK, AIADMK, that is the 12. Dravid Munret Khasgam, that is DMK, 2. All India Forward Blocks, FBS, 2. Indian Congress J or ICJ, that is 1. Jammu and Kashmir Conference, that is JKN, Three, because now the Jammu Kashmir is no more the state, now it's the union territory. The bifurcation of Jammu Kashmir, the one is become the JNK and the second one become the Ladakh. So you have to keep up this in mind. Kerala JKCJ, that is two. Muslim League MUL, that is two. Peasant Worker Party in India PWP, that is one. Revolutionary Social Parties, that is RSP 3. Telugu Desam Party DDP 30, Independent 5. The grand total is 514. So we talked about the national parties and the state parties. So like so far you have discussed this, but we are in India now. If we talk about the 2020, there are the numerous of the party in the state as well as at the central level. But majorly the two, we have the two national parties. Majorly I'm talking about, there are the number of them, but the two are majorly. First is the BJP, that is Bharatiya Janata Party. Second one is Indian National Congress, and other parties and the independent parties. The party, those who are not dependent on the major parties. Now come towards the next one, to select the national government. So there was another data of the result of 13th Lok Sabha election. The data is of 1999 political party and the number of MPs elected. The national parties, the Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, with the come with the major, they come in the majority and they form the government, that is 182. Bahujan Samaj Party, that is BSP, that is 14. Communist Party of India, Marxist CPM, that is 33. Indian National Congress, INC, 114. Janata Dal United JD, that is 21, that is 5. State Party, All India Anna DMK, 8. ADMK, that is 10. All India Trinamool Congress, AITC, 8. Biju Janata Dal BJD, 10. Dravida Mundareta Khazagam DMK, 12. Indian National Lok Dal INLD, 5. National Congress Party NCP, 8. Patal Maklai Kachki, that is PMK, 5. Rashtriya Janata Dal RJD, 7. Shiv Sena HSS, 15. Samajwadi Party SP, 26. Telugu Desam Party TDP, that is 29. Other having 23. Registered or unrecognized party, those who are registered or those who are not registered, or you can say the unorganized, they are the registered but unrecognized, that is 10. And the independent, those who are not dependent on the majorly party, that are 6. The total are 543. So this is the data of 1990, the 13th Lok Sabha election. Once elected, this candidate become the member of the parliament. Now if they won in the Lok Sabha election, so they become the member of the parliament. We used to call it as the MPs. This MP together make are the parliament. Once the election to the parliament have taken place, the parliament needs to perform the following function. So what kind of function, what kind of role they have to do, we are going to come in this, to select the national government. So those who are in the majority, then they used to form the government, they used to sit in the ruling side, and the people who are defeated and they are in the, you can say, in the major party form, in the other party form, or in the independent party form, they used to sit in the opposition side. First you have to show that you are in the majority, after that you can form the government. So the Parliament of India consists of the president. First, we start with the president, the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. After the Lok Sabha election, a list is prepared showing how many MPs belong to the each political party. For the political party of the government, they must have a majority of elected MPs. Since there are 543 elected plus 2 nominated, 543 members are elected plus 2 nominated, which is nominated by the President of the India. Right now, the President of India is, who is there? Mr. Ram Nath Kovind. So you have to keep this in mind, whosoever the president, over a period of time, so you have to keep this in mind, what the current PM is there, what the current vice president is there, what the current president is. So President of India is Ram Nath Kovind. He is from the Bihar and he is very much good, or you can say he is a very good president. So in the member in the Lok Sabha, to have the majority, a party should have at least half the number, that is 272 members or more. The opposition party is formed the all the political parties that oppose the majority party, or the coalition formed if the sum of the party, you have to recall from the class 7th, if the or you will going to learn in the higher classes as well, when any of the party doesn't show in the front of the president, in the front of the people, that we are not the majority, then the two major parties come, they come with the alliance. So this kind of government, we used to call it as the coalition government, that the two parties both together ruling over the India, you can say, they make the parliament. So the largest among this party is called the opposition party. So largest among this we used to call it as the opposition party. One of the most important function of this Lok Sabha is to select the executive. The executive, have you read in chapter 1, is a group of persons who work together to implement the laws made by the parliament. So the executive, as you read in chapter 1, the group of the person who work together to implement the laws made by the parliament. This executive is often what we have in mind. We use the term government. Now, what the term we are using? The government. The Prime Minister of India is the leader of the ruling party. Yes, he is the leader of the ruling party in the Lok Sabha from the MPs who before her party. So the Prime Minister select the minister to work with her to implement the decision. So Prime Minister used to work with the ministers to do the work for the country. These ministers then take the charge of the different areas of the government function like the health, education, finance, foreign, home minister, defense minister, extra foreign affairs minister, human resource minister, agriculture minister, industry minister, health minister, education. In this different section, they used to give them the job that this type of particular field you have to check. Often the times in the recent past, it has been difficult for the single political party to get the majority that it is required to form the government. Now which I already explained, if any of the government, they used to feel who doesn't show their, or you can say, the majority in the front of the president, in the front of the people, then they used to come in the alliance, which we used to call it as the coalition government. Then the join together with the different political parties who are interested in a similar conscience to form what is known as the coalition government. So far what we have discussed, that we are very much proud that we are in the democratic country where we respect each and everything. So for the parliamentary form of government, every year, not I am saying that every year, every 5 years they used to, there is the election in which we used to elect a representative from the different parties. So the whosoever the party used to win, they have to show the majority. Then after they can form the government, by which in the Lok Sabha elections, there are the 43 members in which more than the half of the majority, they have to show that yes, our MPs have win this election, so we have to form the government. They used to sit in the ruling party, and the other or the people or the minister who were defeated, they used to sit in the opposition. Just that we talk about the other parties, the national parties and the independent party, they used to sit in the opposition. Then the leader of this Lok Sabha is the Prime Minister. He used to take all the decision and he used to appoint the different MPs who win this election, that these are the work you have to assign over there. If we talk about right now, so the defense minister is Rajnath Singh. So he used to look after all the defense thing. If we talk about the finance minister, that is Nirmala Sitharaman, so she used to look after all the work of the finance. If we talk about the external foreign affairs minister, that is the Dr. Shankar Jaishankar, that is the doctor. He is alias the IAFS. So he used to look after all the work of the extra affairs minister. Then if we talk about the railway minister, that is the Piyush Goyal. So he used to look after all the work of the railways. So these are the minister who look after the all this you can say the sector which is assigned by the Prime Minister. That is this particular field you have to see, and you have to make the development. What are the policy, what are the plans, what are initiative which we have passed. So you have to regulate in the country. When the some of the parties they are not form the majority in the Lok Sabha election, what they have to do is the two major parties, those who have the number, they come with the alliance and they form the coalition government. So after that they can show that we two party come together and we make the majority, so we can form a government now, and now we can rule the country. So now many a times in India the coalition government had did this work. If we talk about in the 1999, so the Atal Bihari Vajpayee having the coalition government, where the number of the parties come together, they form the they show the majority, then they form the government, and they show now we are going to do the work in our country. So far we have discussed about this, that why should the people, what should the people decide? People and their representative. Yes, we have the right to vote, that by our consent, whomsoever we want to cast a vote and to elect a representative, because we know what kind of qualities this representative have and what he is going to do in the future. The role of the role of parliament is utmost important, because in the parliament we they used to make the in the parliament we find the upper house and the lower house. So in the lower house they used to make the law, they make the plans, and they used to regulate in the country. So that is the utmost important role of the parliament of any country. If we talk about in our India, both the parliaments we find in the Delhi. So Lok Sabha is having the speaker. Right now the speaker name is Om Prakash Birla, and we talk about the Rajya Sabha, the State of Council. So it is headed by the Vice President of India, that is the right now Venkaiah Naidu. So this thing, all this thing you have to keep in mind. The who's are the current is the, current minister over that particular, you can say, rank. So have to keep their name, and you have to keep this as the president of India is Ramnath Kovind. I hope you like this video. Thank you.